Hey, do you write nonfiction? You write about history? Are you a historian of sorts? Where do you get your information? Where do you go to find out what really happened? I know where I go. I go, amongst other places, to the county historian's office. There, I speak with a number of people, including the county archivist. Did you know we even had a county archivist? My name is Vincent T Dacquino, and today, our guest is Reginald White.
Hi, Vinny.
Reg, I usually see you at the office.
Yes, you do.
We talk about all of the wonderful information. You are a double threat. Not only are you a wonderful historian, but you've been writing books of your own lately. And you've been using some of the wonderful knowledge you have of Putnam County history, putting it together into book form. Tell me a little bit about who is Reggie White? How in the world did you get to where you are today?
Well, I think it was a rather long road. I didn't do any writing in school particularly. It wasn't something I liked. But I had a very strong interest in family history, so genealogy, and I did research on my family, and on my mother's side it was local in the town of North Salem. And when the reservoirs came in, some of the buildings were moved there. And back in the 1990s, they were going to move another building. So I wrote a brief bulletin for the North Salem Historical Society on the Lobdell store and post office that had already been moved once because of the reservoirs and was being moved again because they were making some changes. And I did that because I thought it was important for people to know a little bit about the history, the fact that it had already been moved once, and just what took place there, how far back it went. And then I didn't do anything after that as far as history goes. But several years ago, George Whipple came into the archives at the historian's office, and he was looking for some images. He was doing a book on Carmel. I was able to help him out.
Now, George Whipple is a businessman. He also has a television show of his own in New York City.
That's correct.
And he often contributes to projects in Putnam County since he lives in Putnam County.
Yes, he's a local historian. He's an historian. He's very interested in history. He's also a philanthropist. He grew up in the town of Kent, and when he was in the archives, he said, I want to do another book. Would you be interested in doing anything? And I said, sure, I'd really like to. And that began our collaboration on this book of Kent.
So this is the book of Kent. And what you've done is you've taken important information, put it all together. Now, I definitely know what that's all about because that's what I did with Sybil. You were also instrumental in helping when I was putting that book together. And, you know, you've heard me say it 100 times. It was amazing because the information that we had on Sybil Ludington was incorrect. And by the time we put it all together, dug up information, we found, oh my God, that biography on Sybil Ludington is not her real biography. We found out she didn't really have 6 children. She wasn't married to a guy named Henry. She was married to a guy named Edmund. A lot of very important things. And what I discovered was that history is sometimes hidden in little nooks and crannies.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of what you do.
Yes.
As an archivist, you go through the archives and you're able to dig up some things. I was fascinated when I was doing Hauntings of the Hudson River. I knew that there was a newspaper article on George Denny. And I knew that it was written in 1923. I was blown away when I found out you actually had the newspaper in the archives, but you also had notes from his trial in boxes. Tell me about this vault that you work with at the historian's office.
Sure. Well, I think we even have some of the original court documents for the Denny case in the archives. But our mandate in the county archives is essentially to maintain, preserve, and make accessible the county records, the official county records. And Putnam County was established in 1812, so our collection pretty much starts there and then goes forward. And we don't have current information in the archives per se. We keep the old information that has to be preserved forever.
So you have births, deaths, vital records?
We actually don't have vital records so much because those are kept, well, New York mandated they be kept for a while back in the 1800s, but in general it's the town clerks that have kept those records, or the older records you might find in church records. A lot of the church records are gone, we don't know where they are, so they can be very difficult to find.
So what actually can be found in the archives?
Well, you never know.
Yeah, I've seen, oh my God, notes and letters and receipts.
That's one of the fun things about the archives, because there is so much material there that nobody knows it all. And even though we've arranged it and described it and we have a catalog so that you can find it, you don't know the specifics. And you may come across a piece of paper or a record of some sort that tells you something you didn't know. Just like you said about Sybil, you're able to find some correct answers on that.
Yep.
There's a lot of local myth, if you will, or stories or history that have been handed down, and people accept them as
diaries
what
and journals?
happened. But sometimes when you look in the archives or you look closely, you find it's not quite true. Something else really happened.
Yeah,
And so
I mean, that happens to me all the time.
yeah, well, it's happened to all of us.
Yeah.
And you start to look somewhere, you start looking specifically for something, and sometimes it's just amazing what you can find.
So when we want precise documentation, we come to you.
Yes, we have the original records. That is
Maps?
our main objective, is to keep original county records. We have maps, we have deed books, we have all sorts of publications that are local, whether they're flyers from the 1850s or from the 1920s, booklets.
You even have some secondary sources in the historian's office, right? Books.
Absolutely. We have quite a good collection of books that have been written on Putnam County, history, geography, everything.
So you're kind of in charge of all of these records, and you help a number of writers who come in there and say, look, I need this, and you help them trace it down.
Yeah.
We've done that. You have even been amazing. You've gone one step above. I came to you and I said, Reg, the first mention of Sybil Ludington was 1907. Wrong. It was 1880. And you said, what?
Yes.
And what we discovered was that it was in New York City. Reg, you jumped in the car. We went down with Chris Mucciolo and actually went through the boxes of information to get to the bottom of it in hopes that we could find some real primary sources on Sybil.
Right. See if we can find an earlier reference to her.
Yeah, so you're there to the ready.
That's the fun of it, is to see what you can find.
Yeah, it is the fun of it. And you really get into this, and I love the way you get into it. You've got into it so much that now you are an author. And tell me about that writing experience. Now, what did you discover once you put on the writer's hat instead of the archivist hat?
Well, George and I started the book, and George made available all of his material from his family because he had grown up in Kent, and that was his interest in doing a book on Kent. And I did research and found additional photos, postcards, newspaper articles, all sorts of things, and amassed a huge collection of items. And we were going to put together sort of a picture book with captions, but we wound up with so much information that we decided we'd go off on our own and publish it ourselves. So we self-published it, which also, it allowed us to do an index. It allowed us to do full-page spreads. It allowed us to put some color in it. And I did a couple of fun things. One was to create a page at the beginning, sort of like what you see in a lot of the old books around the turn of the 19th century, where they have a lot of promotional material, you know.
Yeah.
See, sort of like a snake oil salesman, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, this book has got this
Yeah.
in it, and
Yeah,
it's
a
so
lot of
great
that.
and everything else. So I had some
Sponsors.
fun doing that. And then in this book, this second edition, I put some marbleized inside covers on it.
Do you want
which
to
is-
show one or
which-
two of those?
Sure. It's,
Yeah, we
well,
can-
it's just this cover here.
All right. Okay, so
It's,
we'll look at here. That's
It was
this
fairly
here.
typical.
Where are we going? I think we're going right here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the old books have that type of an inside cover, and I thought it'd be fun, so I added that to it. So when we self-publish, we can do whatever we want, and it was
Now,
great.
You've used some postcards
Yes.
in this too.
In fact, this one right here is a postcard, the upper picture.
And the cover actually is also a postcard,
the
isn't it?
cover, yes, the cover, the entire cover is one
Now,
postcard.
postcards are pretty amazing because what we've discovered is that postcards are historical documents.
Absolutely.
And sometimes some of the pictures in some of these are very revealing. We have no other photographs of some of these things that
That's-
are on these postcards.
That's right. And a lot of people don't think that the backs of the postcards are that necessary, if you will, or interesting, but they really can be because number one, they can date it. There might be a message. And this is a picture I'd like to show you.
Okay.
This
I'm
is
gonna hold
actually
this up here.
It is a postcard. It's a real photo postcard.
Go.
So it's got the quality of an actual photograph. I got it from a friend and scanned it, and it said Ludingtonville on it. But I
Wow.
couldn't recognize where it was, but I took the scan anyway. As I went through the information I had, I was able to identify, no, hold it up,
Oh, still? Okay.
this building here as the Ludingtonville store, the Griffiths
Go
General
ahead,
Store
point to that
in
again. We're on
Ludington.
the screen.
Okay, this one right here, this building here.
And now what building is that?
It's the Ludingtonville store, or the Griffith
Wow.
store in
Yeah,
Ludingtonville.
the Griffith store.
So I didn't know what it was when I first got it. I was able to identify it through the research that I did. And I mean, that's what a lot of it's all about, is to
Right.
identify things, put them in context, and tell
Yep.
the story.
Yep. And be able to make sense out of things and put pieces. I mean,
Right,
that's what
exactly.
Civil was. Oh my God, it was pieces and pieces. Her story came from so many different sources.
Yeah.
And when I was able to put it together, I found that some of the things that we believe to be absolute truths were not. And a picture tells 1,000 words.
Yeah. Well, another instance of being able to add some information to this book, I went to the archives in Albany, and I did some research on the banking records from the mid-1800s. And I was, people in general, the story is locally that the Putnam County Bank, which was formed in 1848, it changed its name to the Bank of Kent and moved from Farmers Mills to Ludingtonville in 1856. The records that I found in Albany didn't quite support that
Wow.
100%. Actually, in about 1855, the Putnam County Bank, there were only two owners, or two partners. It had originally started with three partners. There were only two at that time. And there was a notation that one of the two partners died in either in 1855 or 1856. So there was only one owner left at that time, and that was David Kent. And that bank closed, and then the next year, the Bank of Kent opened with David Kent and two other partners.
Wow.
So it's a slight variation,
Yeah,
but it's a
but
little
it's
bit more
important.
specific.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it much more interesting.
Yeah, it does.
And as a corollary to that, if I may, I was able to get some original notes from some people I know, original banknotes, broken banknotes. Now, these are obsolete, they're not used anymore, but I was able to, and maybe you'd like to show them there, I was able to do, in addition to the book, I created some notes last year for the bicentennial. and these are several of the Putnam County Bank.
Wow.
And maybe if you want to turn it around and back, there is some text on the back, some specific facts that I was able to find in Albany about some of the different banks. And I did several of these sheets for the bicentennial, which again was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The historian's office and the Croton River
And
Numismatic
you never know
Society.
what you're going to find. I mean, it's
You never know,
no,
or
no,
where.
As I was saying, I was amazed when I was doing hauntings. I knew that the 1923 copy of the newspaper was there. What I didn't know was that Willett C. Jules, who wrote the article, actually had notes, and the notes had cross-outs. You had them.
Yeah.
So I was able to actually hold the notes that article came from.
Yes.
Some information was there, some wasn't there, some was changed. Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's great. I mean, Willett Jewell was a previous historian. He saved a lot. He did good research, and it's wonderful to have his papers. I don't think we have everything, but it's terrific when people do provide us with the papers, and even if they, like today, they just give us copies or let us make copies, we can add that information to the archives, and then it's available for anyone.
So if I find a letter written by Sybil Luddington and I donate it, does it end up in your archives?
If you donate to the historian's office in the county archives, yes, absolutely.
So you do have some primary documents that people said, here, I don't
Yes.
want them anymore.
Yes, we do. We
Yeah.
have diaries, we have letters, we have other things.
Yeah, so again,
we collect,
you never know what you're going to
yeah,
find.
we collect more than just official documents. I mean, we collect anything relative to Putnam County.
Sometimes when I do my nonfiction work, I have what I call my, oh my God moments. Did you have any oh my God moments?
Well, kind of that photograph there when I was able
That
to
was a big
identify
one because it was something
was-
that you didn't expect to find.
Right. I mean, that was terrific.
Right. Anything else? And anything in particular you remember that you didn't know as the truth, and then you were able to find something, maybe for someone else, writers who have come in and asked you for information, and then you find things for them that were like, yes.
Well, yeah, there's been one fellow that's come in to do some research over in Cold Spring about Constitution Island, and apparently back in the mid-1800s, there were some problems with closing off some of the water around Constitution Island, and I'm hoping he's going to write a book about it because it's quite interesting.
Yeah, well, sounds great. So, as an archivist, you not only file away important information, you have to kind of unfile it, you have to know where it is. Are a lot of these things on computer now?
The finding aids, as we call them, which would be like a catalog or a list or an inventory, are pretty much on the computer. The actual documents are not. We simply have limited resources to do all of that because they'd have to be digitized, and which takes a lot of time.
But now you do have some things online for
We have our
researchers.
catalog online.
Okay.
If people go to the Putnam County website and find the historian's office, they can find a list of some of the collections we have. It might be being updated at the moment, but if it isn't there now, it should be there again shortly. Periodically, we update it.
Now, another thing that I see, and we'll do a little shout out here, the office has a lot of things going on. One of the things I see when I go in there, they're getting town records, and they're transcribing these
Yes.
from the almost impossible handwriting of the 1800s to today.
Yes.
Kathy Wargis, I
Yes.
know, does that. Chris Mucciolo, Sally Cipher, Dennis Castelli is our new historian.
Yes.
These are people who are involved. Do they have like particular jobs? I mean, if I'm
They're
a
very
writer,
involved.
they're
Yes.
all involved with
yeah, I
just
mean,
about
the-
everything.
The entire staff really enjoys the local history and likes having people come in, loves doing research for them. It's always a challenge to try to answer a question and
I'm
find
always
out.
thrilled when I go there. I mean, it amazed me from way in the beginning that you can go there. I didn't realize the historian's office was a place where a writer could actually go, and you could actually sit there and
Sure.
talk with these historians and tell them what you want. it always amazes me. I see Kathy go one way. I ask a question. Kathy goes one way. Chris goes another. Sally goes another. You go another. And you all seem to have like little places to go.
Yes, yeah.
So
It's lots
writers.
of fun.
So the historian's office is an amazing resource
Yes.
for writers who are writing history.
Yeah, and we're publishing a little bit now ourselves. I mean, we have over the years, as you said, some transcriptions of town minutes. Dennis Castelli's the new historian. He's very dynamic. He wants to try to publish more things from the historian's office.
Great.
So we will probably have a list up on the web at some point, or you can come into the historian's office and see what
You
we
can
have.
actually go right in there, almost like a little library.
Well, we do have a library that actually the public can peruse. We don't allow people in the archives, that's staff only,
Right.
but they can look at any of the records that we have.
And I mean, I've done that where I said, Reg, I'm trying to find the exact location of Sybil Luddington's property after she got married. Well, you guys were wonderful. And digging up maps and digging up little paragraphs and things. It's just amazing.
Yeah, the slightest bit of information sometimes can be very valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have put this book together. Is this book available anywhere?
Yes, you can get it at the Carmel Flower Shop, and it's also available at the Kent Library.
Oh, interesting. So, and you can actually purchase it.
And you can email me as well.
Okay.
If you're
And
interested.
I think your email is up there.
Okay.
And we can contact you, and you can maybe give an autographed copy.
Of course, be happy to.
That's good.
And if anyone wants to do research at the historian's office, I believe you also have the email address for the historian's office and
Good,
the
I
phone
think
number
that's
for
on
there
there
too.
Yeah,
Okay,
and,
good.
I mean, and you encourage people to go there. It's in Brewster.
Yeah, we're open 5 days a week.
Yep.
We love to have people come
It's
visit.
like a block down from the main drag.
That's right.
Sort of behind the library, right? And
Yes.
the Southeast Museum.
Yes, it's in the old NYSEG building, the big brick building.
Yeah, and it always fascinates me to go in there and see boxes and boxes.
Yes.
There's just boxes of information on shelves all the way through. I mean, it's a warehouse
It is.
of history.
Yes, it's wonderful. It's really exciting.
It's wonderful. So where does Reggie go from here?
Well, I'm continuing to gather information about Kent when I come across it, so there's always the possibility of something more on Kent. The last several years I've been doing a great deal of research on Tilly Foster, and I hope to be able to publish something on Tilly Foster very soon.
Let's take a word on that. Tilly
Okay.
Foster was a person.
Correct.
He also had a farm, the Tilly Foster Farm, and then there's the Tilly Foster Mines. So Tilly Foster owned the Tilly Foster Mine at one time. That's located right off of Route 6 in Southeast. And that was a functioning mine. And at one point it actually caved in. Miners were killed.
Yep.
And today it's sort of pushed back into the woods. Simon's car wrecking service is in there.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's private property.
Yes,
so you
private.
can't really go
That's correct.
to Tilly Foster Mines.
Yeah.
But then there's the Tilly Foster Farms.
Right.
And I guess George Whipple is associated with that as well.
That's correct. He's helped revive it.
So when you say you're going to do a project on Tilly Foster, is it the person, the farm, or the mine?
Yes.
All of them.
And you gave me a perfect in here. Let me correct what you just said, some of it.
Good, thank you.
Tilly Foster is a man.
Yep.
He owned a farm, and just like any other man, it could be called the Tilly Foster Farm.
Right.
The mine was on his property, but it was not a mine at that time. Tilly Foster never mined anything. To the best of my knowledge, I have not been able to find that he mined anything.
So it was
when
purchased,
he owned it.
named for
It
him,
was
but he
after
really
that-
was not a miner.
Correct. It was purchased after that, and then it became a true working mine. One of the other stories or local lore about Tilly Foster is his name. Tilly Foster is a little unusual, and people wonder, Tilly, is that really somebody's name?
Is it a guy?
There was even someone who wrote a fun little story about Tilly Foster was no lady. Anyway, people have said Tilly Foster was a lady, but he wasn't. He was a man. But the research that I have done, I believe I know what his real name was. And some people think it was Tillingham, some think it was Tillingworth, and there are other iterations, and you'll have to wait till the book comes out to find out what it really is.
This last piece that you have just heard on this show is what fascinates me the most about going to the historian's office. Reggie and I have been through this so many times with so many different situations where I say something and he says, yeah, but no. So if you want to write a book about history, especially about the history of Putnam County, you need to go to the historian's office. Great place to start. It isn't the only place where information's kept. The history of Putnam County is everywhere. It's in nooks and crannies, but they can lead you to where you need to go. So
it's a matter of following leads. A lot of it, you find a piece of information here, it suggests something to you, so you go look somewhere else.
Absolutely. So a good place to go when you're doing a book on history is the historian's office. You will meet Reggie Smith. No? I used to confuse the name, but now I know it is Reggie White.
Yes, sir.
Reggie White is the author, one of the authors of The Town of Kent. Get yourself a copy. Go there if you're doing any kind of research. And
Putnam County research, we don't have a lot beyond Putnam County, so we specialize. But there are other places where there is Putnam County history, so it depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, and remember that Putnam County used to be Dutchess County.
That's right.
So you need to go up to Poughkeepsie
sometimes
and find some information there. But in the meantime, Reg, we can't thank you enough for being here today. Keep on doing what you're doing. You know what I always say. If we do not teach our children of today about their yesterday, we are stealing a little piece of their tomorrow. So keep on doing what you're doing. You keep on doing what you're doing. That is tuning into this show. And we are glad to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. And Reg, thank you for joining us.